Welcome to Custom Home Builder Solutions, also known as CHS, a job costing, full accounting, and profit management software for the professional home builder. This video is a continuation in a series of videos we are doing about, first of all, we did posting various kinds of accounts receivable invoices, and then we talked about posting a payment for an accounts receivable invoice. And in this video, we are going to talk about just simply reviewing accounts receivable, printing reports based on various criteria that we select, etc., on a window that shows the database of our accounts receivable activity. So I'm going to click the accounts receivable button for the accounts receivable menu, and we've already gone over adding new receivables invoices. The add prior period accounts receivable invoice has to do with when you're first setting up CHS and you have any open accounts receivable. And you can read the help about prior period receivables up here. Quick job cost billing is actually going to be discussed in our series of videos about various kinds of types of draw requests that you can do for job costs, etc. So we're not covering that right at this moment. But what we're going to talk about first is reviewing our accounts receivable entries on a database. Then we are going to talk about reviewing a summary of those, which just shows the balances due. And then we'll talk about how to review what was open as of a certain selected date. But first of all, this is the window right here, Review, Edit, Delete, Copy, that you would click to go see all of your accounts receivable activity. You can edit things, which we're going to do in another video, and delete entries, and etc. And we'll show you how you do that. But in this case, we're just talking about reviewing this. First of all, you can see that these are first grouped by your payer ID, like here under Dan Green, and then by invoices. So there's 2 invoices, I think, showing up, or 3 invoices showing up for Dan Green. You can see those here. Invoice 1009, 1014, 1018. And right here it will show you the balance. If there's just a bunch of dashes, that means the balance is 0. You can see here is the positive amounts posted to AR Journal Accounts Receivable, and then a deposit was posted for $2,650, so it shows up here as a credit against those, making this balance 0. We can see we have an open invoice here for $1,650 and another one for Dan Green, who happens to be a tenant that we set up in our property management that owes us monthly rent. We also created an invoice in the previous videos to myself, one for me reimbursing Roberts Custom Homes for some office supplies and for some consulting that they did for me on my software. So they posted an accounts receivable, and we did that in a video. And then you can start seeing, in our previous video, we were posting a deposit that we actually did in 2 lines for $1,950, which made this balance 0, etc. So let's take a look at that right here. What I'd like to point out is that when you create a new accounts receivable invoice, CHS will look for the control account that you set up on the chart of accounts for accounts receivable, and will post one side of the entry to the GL account that you select and the other side to that accounts receivable. So if you look and click the View JE because you're curious about what was posted at that time, we actually posted 2 lines, one to rental income for $1,200 and one to security deposits for $750. Now, income accounts on your income statement are what they call credit balance accounts. So when you see a minus, that actually increased the rental income. The minus sign just means that it's a credit. Doesn't really mean it's minusing something from that rental income. Same with security deposits. Liability accounts are increased, and that is a liability account because you might owe it back, but the security deposit we collected was posted as a credit. And so when you click the submit button for these 2 lines, CHS, keep your books in balance, and to track your accounts receivable, put the offsetting side of that, or the debits, which are positive amounts, to that accounts receivable control account 1210 that we were seeing. So you can just see what CHS posted behind the scenes. You can see that it's looking for things in the AR journal on this date for that document 1010, which is actually our accounts receivable invoice number. So if I close that and I say, well, let's look at the JE that was posted when the deposit was posted, you can see that, first of all, we posted a total deposit to our checking account of $1,950. And then the two offset entries, because we did it in two lines, were credits to accounts receivable, not debits. In other words, they were clearing the debits that we posted in the first journal entry and making that particular document go down to zero. And this particular report doesn't necessarily show the accounts receivable invoice number, but it does show the payor here. And you can see how CHS cleared your books and handled that in the deposit. It was debiting accounts receivable, crediting accounts receivable, so that accounts receivable would be lowered at the time this deposit was posted. And I mentioned in the previous video that if you select an accounts receivable invoice when you're posting a deposit, CHS will force the GL account to be the control account for accounts receivable for what it actually posts. We already recognize the revenue, as you saw when you viewed the JE for accounts receivable. Now you can search for various things on this ledger and then do a results report of your search. So you can use all sorts of search features that we have. If you click the search button, there is help for searching, and there are search tips for things to use in the different fields over here. If we only wanted to see all the activity between a certain range of dates, we could select those. Or you were noticing how it showed over here as I talked, I hope, that it's showing you the journal that something was posted to, maybe. And I also showed in an earlier video that you might have some things posted to payroll journal as you post advances or deductions for advances from employees. So you might want to just be looking for the PR journal or the AR journal or deposit, or you can do a comma and select multiple journals there. Search for certain departments, some partial type of description if you like. But what we're going to look for is, we talked about how we could set up payer types and attach them to our payors. And we set up a type called renter when we were talking about using CHS to handle some property management. So let's just say we're just interested in that, in those types of payers and where they're at in their accounts receivable. We could do a GL date range that we're only interested in also. Let's just submit a search for just renters. Now you can see, and you can also watch records loaded and unloaded is 13. We have that many records showing up here if you counted the various lines, and they're all just for our renters. Now when you do what's called a results report, it will be the results of your search. Notice how it says accounts receivable ledger based on search results. And so it's showing just those renters actually in this search results here, and showing how much our renters totally have outstanding, actually of $4,500, and it shows the filters, and it could be more filters that we use down here for doing that type of search. You can see here on the title lines where it's grouping the payer that it says payor type renter, payor type renter, and that's all it found for us. So hopefully you can see how you could do all kinds of searches and produce various reports based on your searches of accounts receivable as you like them, and do the results report after your search. We're going to come back to this window to talk a little more about editing. You can use an upload icon here to upload and attach something to this record if you like. Maybe you have a copy of some sort of agreement with the payor, a copy of their check, or something that you want to attach here, or whatever you like. You can watch various videos about doing uploads, but once you click the upload icon, you can do this icon and then search your computer for something to upload. There's all sorts of other help about that. So let's leave that window for a minute and do a little further review. This button here for AR invoices and balances summary is handy. Instead of having all that detail that this one has, it's handy to just see one line for each invoice. Notice that our renter, there were 3 invoices. It shows here this invoice has a balance due of 0, this one has amount due, this one has an amount due, etc. And if you drill down by clicking here on the invoice number, you're actually going to open basically the same window that we just had open that has all the detail. It's showing the detail. You can do some editing. You could also do a results report just of that, which is the same results report we saw just a minute ago, but now it's been narrowed down to this payor, this invoice number, this job, and this department is what it searches for to show you the detail behind that invoice. And actually the invoice will always have the same job and department. Hopefully. I force that it does, because we do little financials by department and by job, and we need the original invoice, accounts receivable, and the deposit, and all of that to match the same job and department to make that happen. So one interesting search that you could do here, I would imagine, is that you're wanting to only see ones that still have balances due. You don't want to see these 0 ones. So we could do a search just for I'm looking at something here for just a minute in my before I do the search to see what it is I search for in my help document. But let's just look for the ones that are not 0. And you can see you have a little water tip thing here that says try exclamation point equals 0 for not equals to 0. That's the lingo that JavaScript for a web page has to use to do some of its filtering. And if you slide down here, you're going to see the tips, and you can see that one of the tips is not equal to. It means you should use an exclamation point equals in front of whatever you want it to not be equal to. In this case, we want to see things that are not equal to 0, so we are going to do exclamation point equals 0. And we will submit the search. Now you'll see that we have less records here than we did before the search, and that they all have a balance due, and we no longer are seeing the 0 balances. So a report of this search results would just be a report of the ones that don't have a balance due of 0, and are just the open ones that we have, which can be, of course, a very interesting report. And then when a report is created, the background reinterprets that balance due as has a less than, greater than, which means not equals to also, which once you go to reports, you're going to HTML and not JavaScript. I'm sure you're so interested in that part. But anyway, it shows the filter for what we searched for here. Of course, we could still do, other searches. We could, again, just search for our renters and the ones not equal to 0. That's still there. Submit search. And now we're just seeing amounts due from renters. In case we're interested in that, we're just working on our property management stuff. Various things that you can do with your searches and then print a report. And all reports do open as HTML first, which is a quick report, kind of like a rough draft. You can send them to PDF or even Excel if you're wanting to do something with these records that you searched for. So that's another way to review and drill down to the entries behind certain invoices. But that's what's called a summary, so that it's not all the detail right away. It's just a total of balances due. The next area that could be very handy for an accountant that might be trying to tie your accounts receivable balance on your books, maybe as of year end, to a list of open invoices, would be this area here. You can select any date that you like. I don't know if there was any balances due year end. I can't remember. Let's get to December 31st, 2015, and let's open an AR invoices summary. If you would have printed a balance sheet as of 12/31/15, you would have seen accounts receivable and you would have seen $45.25 there. And this would give you a detail of who that was. If there were more invoices than that, you'd have a detail of that. And if for some reason the accountant at year end wanted the detail behind that, if there had been more than one line entry for $45.25, it would be showing all the detail. Let's go ahead and do one for maybe, I don't know, April 15th. We're now on to April 18th, but let's see April 15th. Let's see, just so you can see more invoices. These are the ones open on April 15th, 2016, and you can see 3602.98. If you did a balance sheet on that date, you would see this balance there. And so this tells you who it is and the totals that they owed you. And then the detail behind it is, this does open as a PDF report because of the way it's gathering open invoices it has to. It's not an HTML. But see how you can see all the detail lines behind those various invoices there. There's 2 lines for green for that April 1st, which we didn't post a payment for yet, which we should have one for already, and for David Rollins actually. We posted a later invoice when we were showing how to copy invoices. We posted, I think we posted something for Rollins for May 1st. Rollins or Green, one of our renters. So let's look at that summary. Yeah, we can see Dan Green with 2 different invoices showing up on May 1st. It was Dan Green we were showing how to copy invoices. So we copied the April invoice to a May invoice. So you can see how this amount is changing as to what's open as of, certain dates, and giving you in the Dan Green case, you can see that one of these was on May 1st and one of these was on April 1st, and you can see the detail behind those. So it's definitely doing an as of date and can be very useful information for you if you are trying to tie what your accounts receivable balance on your balance sheet is to what your actual open invoices are for accounts receivable. One note here is that these reports do not include records posted to accounts receivable control account in a journal entry. And if you try to post a journal entry and use the control accounts for accounts receivable, you will get a notice that you should not be doing that you should be handling that another way. So we will come back to the very next video. I'm being attacked by a dog at the moment. And the next video will be about editing or deleting accounts receivable invoices. Thank you for watching.